You look kind of down, Ash.
Huh?
Have a donut. That always cheers me up. Pika pika!
These donuts are great. Jelly-filled are my favorite. Nothing beats a jelly-filled donut.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Binging with Babish, where this week we're taking a look at traditional Japanese jelly-filled donuts. They are called onigiri, and per Brock's specifications, the best ones are filled with jelly. So we're going to start off by making our donut dough. We've done this on basics before, but just as a recap, we're combining 350 grams of all-purpose flour, 75 grams of sugar, and a teaspoon of kosher salt in the bowl of a stand mixer. Give it a nice tiny whiskin, and then we're going to bloom our yeast in 1 cup of whole milk heated to 110 degrees Fahrenheit, or thereabouts. So that's 1 packet of active yeast and about a tablespoon of sugar. Give it a little mix and let it sit for 10 minutes. During this time, you can really do whatever you want with your life, but I recommend separating 3 egg yolks because we're going to add them to the bowl of the stand mixer along with our frothy yeasty mixture. Then we are affixing dough hooks and letting this guy go at medium-low speed for 5 to 7 minutes until a smooth, tacky, supple ball of dough forms. You can add a little bit of flour if it's a little too sticky, but only if it's not clearing the sides of the bowl. Then we're de-dough hooking our dough, placing it in a well-oiled bowl, topping with well-oiled plastic wrap and letting it rest for 1 hour or until doubled in size, which is perfect because we need time to make marzipan, which is what I think that dark green strip on the bottom of Brock's donuts are. So into the bowl of a food processor goes about 100 grams of almond flour, 150 grams of powdered sugar, a tablespoon of corn syrup, and a little bit of food coloring. I'm going with green and black to get that sort of almost seaweed-like color. Anyway, we're processing that together, and while it's running, we're going to pour in about 2 tablespoons of water. Start slow and add only as much as necessary to make our marzipan form into a ball. There's still a little bit of color inconsistency, so I'm going to knead it until the color is uniform, and this guy is ready for the fridge, 1 hour to be precise. And again, the perfect amount of time to get to work on the other side of our project, the donut dough that we are now going to roll out to about 1/8 of an inch thick, and then I'm going to cut it into a rectangle so I can more easily cut triangles. Since the donuts that Brock was eating were clearly triangular, but they had sort of rounded edges, quite unlike any donut I've ever seen, so I'm going to trim off the edges and round them out before dropping them into a bath of 375 degree Fahrenheit vegetable oil, flipping constantly because we want these to both brown and rise as evenly as possible. It takes a little bit of practice, so I recommend doing it one at a time at first until you master your donut craft, and then you can start frying in tandem. Then once they are nice and uniformly golden brown, we are removing them onto a wire rack to drain for about 15 minutes. Again, the perfect amount of time to make our glaze. I'm going with about 2 cups of powdered sugar to maybe a 1/4 cup of skim milk. You can and should, however, start small, add more as necessary until you get a nice, smooth, thin but not watery glaze. And then these would not be Brock's favorite donuts if they were not jelly filled, so we're going to punch a hole in the bottom using a paring knife and then squeeze inside, a whole bunch of strawberry jelly before dropping into our glaze and then into what looked like to me some desiccated coconut. I'm definitely not a Japanese donut expert. All it needs now is those green strips of marzipan, and ours is fresh out the fridge. Ours is fresh out the fridge, and all we need to do now is roll it out onto a powdered sugar dusted worktop. I think I'm only going to use half here. I'll save the rest for future donuts, which you can do in the fridge for up to 3 weeks or in the freezer for up to 3 months. The rest, however, we are rolling out to a very, very thin sheet, which I'm going to cut into little rectangular strips, which I'm then going to coat with a thin layer of our glaze to act as a sort of glue to hold the marzipan onto the donut. And there you have it. It's always really exciting to master another culture's cuisine, and I think I did that here today. Happy April Fools.